All right, y'all, welcome to another paid review. We are reviewing chapter 3 of Sacrifice, created by KAITO. You can read it for yourself on his website for free. This is how it's supposed to be done, right? KAITO is pretty much giving me a chapter to review every month. The dude is working hard. I actually see improvements slowly so in the art, which is great. I'm going to mention a little bit of that, and he knows who he's trying to sell to. Because at first I was like, yeah, if you're trying to sell this type of manga to Westerners, it's just not going to work because it's too foreign for them. But because he clarified and said, actually, the target market is manga readers in the Middle East. You know what? There's hope. There's hope. If that's the target market, then definitely there is hope indeed. When you know who you are selling to and you know that you are supplying an actual demand, then there is hope for you. Unlike some people who are out here supplying what people are not demanding in the indie space. So there is no demand, that's for sure, for a manga like Sacrifice because of its Islamic influence in the West. There's no demand for it. But in the Middle East, I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm sure there is a rather big demand to some extent, right? Making it actually, well, worth doing, worth finishing and so on. Definitely there will be a return for this investment if there's an understanding of your target market. Does your target market demand such a product? So good on him for realizing that. So as you know, what we do here, how we judge by the MANAA ingredients. And I have said that so far, Sacrifice only has 1 out of 4, which is relatability, right? The familiarity is too foreign to some of us. I do understand and see the reach into what Berserk is, It's just not there yet, because of the polish. The polishing is still at D rank, and we have a ranking system here at Coffee Comics. Now, this is the bare minimum. You have D rank all the way to S rank. This is the bare minimum. I've said that, look, One Piece is D rank mixed with C rank. It's got D rank art with C rank coloring and some C rank moments. But ultimately, the best manga in the universe is D rank. So motherfuckers can be like, oh, your art is terrible. Yeah, so is One Piece, but it outsold everybody. So shut the F up. At the end of the day, it's all about, if you're gonna call this a manga, does it abide by the format on how manga is produced? Do you understand where the cutoff sections are? Do you understand where the dialogue box ends? Things like that, The foundation must be solid so that when people read it, right? When people read it, they don't feel like they're reading some webcomic. I will say though, that for the time being, the paneling that is chosen here, it doesn't feel like manga per se. So KAITO needs to upgrade his paneling, and I recommend that you actually not just read Berserk as inspiration, but I do think if this manga would have the Berserk grittiness, but actually reads like fairy tale, I think that would be better, right? So I advise you actually read some fairy tale and analyze some fairy tale as to like, how does the panel flow work? Now you see here my thingy here about passable, how to achieve passable. It is not the abandoning of professional standards, it's the simplification of it. I say in passable, you only need these 4 characteristics: contrast, composition, facial expression, panel flow. I will say that Sacrifice has good contrast. Sometimes the gray is too much, but it's becoming less compared to chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 3 is starting to balance out its grayscale or its use of gray tones everywhere. Composition is fine. Facial expressions, they're not. They try to be vivid, but I'll show an example of what I mean. And the panel flow doesn't feel like a manga as of now. It feels like a web comic. So I recommend you read Fairy Tail. Why Fairy Tail in particular? Because the art style, the rendering, the dark rendering, is an attempt to capture what Berserk is. But I think skill-wise, the author can reach the skill level of Fairy Tail, right? Because Berserk it's A rank after all, you know, it's A rank, and to make it jump from D to A is not that easy, you know, whoops. So this is B rank, C rank, S rank. There we go, here's A rank. So yeah, ultimately, what I advise is that you can take parts from Berserk, which is A rank, which is the rendering. Sure, you see how Guts' cape is rendered here. You see the use of blacks. You see how Kentaro used to color in his characters. You can take those elements and apply them to when you reach the C rank level. Like here's an example of Fairy Tail over here, right? But for now, it is at the bare minimum, which is D rank. D rank tries to compensate its lack of form, solid anatomy with a lot of gray rendering. And that's exactly what happens in Sacrifice as well. But it's getting better. So good on you for getting better. So I do like this this chapter cover. The silhouette of the were hyena is pretty good. Some good foreshadowing. And I will say the pacing of this chapter is very good. Actually, you know, honestly, the pacing of the whole thing so far is pretty good. The time and care taken to immerse you into the world is admirable, right? You see these panels, right? They too much like Naruto at the same time. And what I mean by that is it just feels like the elements are boxed in, you know. You have to play with the whole page, but still abiding within the manga format. You read Fairy Tail, you'll see what you can do, right? Because having everything inside a panel, almost every page, yeah, that kind of gets boring, that gets repetitive. You don't want a reader to start experiencing a form of repetitiveness while reading your stuff. They're gonna get bored, right? They gotta play with the eyes. You don't want them to just look inside the box each time to figure out what's going on. That is not the case, right? So I like the fact that the author takes time to slowly, gently immerse you in every chapter. So there's an establishing shot, and then he takes your hand and leads you into the city or wherever the events are taking place, and he takes his time with it. I can appreciate that because I sure as hell don't do that. You know, I apply passable in everything. But I can appreciate this. So I forgot where they are, but ultimately they are in that one city. And we see the main character walking through what looks to be a creepy place. Now you see this second page, it's a giant page. No panels whatsoever. This is great. This is great. I would have put actually another panel here, right? Of a close-up of one of these people looking at her badly or something, or her keeping her head down, just to emphasize that she's trying to mind her own business type thing, right? It works, but it could have been better. Nice use of perspective. What I would have done is like this pillar here, this wall, it's too flat. I would have used 1 point perspective here just to give it more depth instead of just putting this flat wall over here. So she's walking in and still taking his time. And yes, now beginning to show the weird people glaring at her and so on. And she's looking for her friend Yasmin, and she's being followed by the creature that we saw in the last chapter. And it seems like before the creature could grab her, Jasmine appears out of nowhere, right? And she says, "Oh, there you are. Sorry I'm late. What are you doing walking here alone?" And she said, "Yeah, that was rather stupid of me. I suppose it's a dingy area that maybe females should not be walking around in." So, Yasmin asked, "Did you hear about the drama with Rima?" And she out here with her gossip. It's cool that these characters stay in character, There is no breaking of character. And I'm saying that because honestly, some characters do break character in some of the reviews I've made of other people, where it's like, well, all of a sudden they are acting this way, but in this one, they really stay as they were introduced. I mean, this is only chapter 3, I guess, but it's nice that they stay in character, And of course, Layla is going to say, Layla seems to be a saint, and I have to be honest, people don't like saints in this day and age. They don't. I mean, they never have. Really, they never have, because it's like, oh, you think you're better than us type thing. But they're maybe it's because of my new level of deconstruction of reality. Most saints rely on what they hope is real, I don't think there would be many saints if they just understood more about a few more things. It'd be very hard. And that would be interesting if Layla is going to experience such an event in her story where it's like, man, I thought I could be a saint, but do I have to ignore all these things to stay as one? That's going to be interesting if it happens. So they still talk. And the creature is staring at them from afar. And they visit one of their friends, I think, or this lady that is here to give medicine to Yasmin. And I like her introduction. It's pretty cool. And it's in these type of pages where I saw the improvement. And the improvement is the actual form and silhouettes of the characters. It's starting to look better. It was very scratchy and very messy in chapter 1 and 2, but now it's starting to be more clear. It's starting to be the form of the human form is starting to be more realistic in a way. But I think the author needs to figure out, because I recommend fairy tale that follow the fairy tale example when it comes to trying to draw anatomy. But I don't know what the author's trying to achieve, because I'm telling you, bro, not that it's impossible to reach the berserk anatomy level. It's just going to take too long. We don't have time for that, right? It's going to take too long. Rather make an easy jump from D rank to C rank. It's within the circumstance. It's easy. Well, it's easier. And that'd be better. So I like this introduction here. And she says, well, if it isn't Yasmin and Layla, my favorite little sisters. Now, I wonder if they're actually sisters. Oh, well. So they're out here having their conversation. Now, not everything in this chapter I would consider vital information, really. This is just a bit of slice of life. And it's great when a normal reader is going to be reading it, because we saw how the first chapter began, then the second one, and there's a growing ominous feeling in the background while you read this slice of life section. So it's pretty cool, because in the background you understand there's something lurking, which is the were hyena, right? The creature. So in a way, it's like you're waiting. This is the calm before the storm type thing. So there's a build up towards that. I can understand why the author felt that it was necessary to have this slice of life. And indeed, I would say it worked well. It worked well because as the chapter ends, the impact is more impactful thanks to having this slice of life moment, right? So they get what they were looking for and they say their goodbyes. And then here it is where Layla starts asking, how's your mother? And Yasmin says, she's improving, but I don't know. And Layla says, I really think you should come to the mosque and pray, just you and Allah, away from the drama and gossip. Yeah, you gotta stop gossiping, girl. Stop being a fishwife, Layla presses on and says, never underestimate the power of heartfelt prayer. And Allah can heal all, just put your faith into it. Definitely sounds like a person preaching to the choir, but, well, she isn't technically wrong, it depends. Okay, I don't know, but at the end of the day, from her perspective, she isn't wrong because thus far it's been working for Layla. I just wonder, what has Yasmin been doing that makes her feel unworthy? Makes you wonder. It's like, okay, Yasmin, you've been doing some dirty things, haven't you? What did you do? Did you kill someone? Did you go sleep with Jafar? What happened? So I like the fact that the author is alluding to something that she did, and you just keep scratching your head because you could feel that something is wrong. She keeps gossiping and making fun to hide something, and it's like, what is it? Did she kill her mother or something? Did she sell her mother's bones for food? I don't know, but it's nice to speculate. So the mere fact that the author can create speculations for readers to go up and down with, I approve. That's very nice, Then she says, I feel unworthy of that. I'm scared. Allah won't accept my prayers. So I'm so neglectful of my faith. I haven't been the best lately. And Layla says, don't worry about it. Never feel unworthy, and so on. And then the creature arrives, says, all fears, are you sure about that, young lady? You see the berserk influence here, you really do. And it's good, it's good. And then she says, is everything okay, sir? Where did you get that? Asked the creature. That blade tied to your waist. That's none of your business, she says. You shouldn't be sneaking around. And Yasmin says, we should get out of here. And the creature says, you see, that blade carries the scent of my blood. See, the creepiness is all kinds of proper. I will say, though, he kind of looks like Killer Croc, which is fine. I mean, he's a ferocious beast-looking animal. But I feel like when this was drawn, it was rushed. It was rushed. The thing is about Berserk, when there is like this type of rendering, you can see and feel that it was not rushed. I feel this was profoundly rushed. The lines are just sporadic everywhere, Maybe that was on purpose, but if I can see and feel that this is rushed, that's not really a good sign. And then, of course, they get shocked. That blade belonged to a hunter I thought I killed. Tell me, is the hunter still alive? And then finally, Layla realizes that, oh no, it's the were-hyena. Run away. And then the creature says, so and they run away. This is a weird perspective. In fact, to draw the characters in this perspective, but it is not within the perspective of the background, and the focus lines are not also following a perspective. It's like you got three different perspectives in one panel, which totally warps the brain, So I want to say fix it, but maybe you don't want to do that, draw that all over again. But next time, start with the perspective grid, right? So that you put everything within perspective, because we get what you're trying to show us, what you're showing us, but it's just incorrect. It's just incorrect. So the creature says, I suppose there's no point in maintaining this frail form, and he begins to transform. Now, is his hand coming from his back? Because you see, that's his shoulder, but his forearm and bicep seems to be coming from the back of his back. You see, because the arm is this side over here. So what's going on here? Does he have 3 arms? And the third one being from the back? That's what it looks like. If that's the case, then okay. If not, then it's a error that needs to be fixed. So he rips off his cloak and looking hella nasty. Now, there should have not been, I recommend, any grays in the background in this revelation whatsoever. There should have not been at all. Also, I know that he's got like big scary teeth, but I can't really see them. See, sometimes this is what you would call overly polishing to hide some mistakes, a lot of mistakes. I think maybe reference should have been used here just to get the proportions right and so on. And definitely understanding where the light is coming from in this would have been better, because I don't actually know where the light's coming from at all. Instead, we just have these black areas, these shadow areas for the sake of it. It has to conform to where the light is coming from. If it doesn't, it just looks like a chessboard, just black and white blocks everywhere. And it just doesn't look right to the eye, it doesn't look appealing, and so on. There are things like his hair here, there should have not been any white lines in an attempt to put texture or so on. There shouldn't have been. You need to know when to put those things, and you put those things as emphasis. You cannot render every single page or panel the same. You can't. You render accordingly based on a need to emphasize. People who are going to render every page the exact same, you're just creating a chessboard. You're creating what Jim Lee would say, brickle-brackle, because he once made that example when he was inking a character talking to Tyrese. I forgot the character's name, but he said, you don't want to put too much detail in every page. But if you do put detail, it must be according to where the light is coming from. Because this is all kinds of brickle-brackle right now. We can tell what's going on, but it's just off. And then he transforms some more. This is frightening. Though I would have drawn this part sideways, like have him sideways. Also, maybe if you looked at the Harry Potter werewolf transformation, like what was it? Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban? I don't remember, but there was a part in one of the Harry Potter movies where one of the lecturers turned into a werewolf. That transformation was really cool. Or you could look at Van Helsing, how Hugh Jackman turned into a werewolf there. Get the angles right, the most dramatic angles, because this particular angle doesn't work for the scene that is being shown to us, because it looks like it's in pain, like type thing, instead of like he's transforming into a beast. So it would have been better if it was from the side, but above all else, would have been better if you just use a reference from a werewolf movie when somebody was transforming. See, this final page though, it is great. Now this does look like reference was used. It looks like the homunculus from Full Metal Alchemist. It does. All right. I don't know if you did use that as reference. It's fine. Not really a big deal, but it honestly feels way more grounded than prior pages just because there was reference used, you know? So this looks better. The light obviously is the moon over there. And because like the walls are high up, I suppose there's some obstruction with the fullness of the light, making it okay for it to be rendered in this way. See how the silhouette just works? It's proper. I would have made this paw a bit bigger because it's too small, but ultimately it was a good build up to this moment. Very scary, as it should be. That was achieved, but in the end, you just gotta look at more reference for things that you're not used to drawing. If you're not used to drawing animals, creatures, then find reference. You know, look at a movie, rewatch the transformation scene like 10 times, you know, or pause it and redraw that moment and so on, right? But definitely the biggest problem so far in this manga is overly detailing every panel. Like, see the characters is black clothing here. There's no need to put these white spots. It makes it look like they're wearing leather. Maybe they are, but that's not really how you need to render leather, you know. And again, rendering depends on the context. Don't overly render everything the same way everywhere. Especially if we look at Yasmin's hair. Look how far away she is from the camera. And she's got all kinds of detail in her hair. From this distance, that looks like spaghetti hair or noodle hair, dry noodle hair. So only use rendering specifically within context, okay? Within context. Now, this basket as well, it's too overly detailed, right? Because it looks like the basket is the focal point when it's not. It's too detailed for the context of this particular panel. What I've also would have done in this panel is I would have made it go all the way down, right? Would have made it go all the way down to put emphasis on the motion that the basket is going down and things are about to go down. You see? So the repetition needs to be broken. Also, I gotta say that the teeth, how the teeth are drawn, this style, the character design style does not fit with how the teeth are drawn. These teeth are an attempt at realistic teeth design. It looks out of place. It looks out of place. It just looks off. You know, it looks off. It looks wrong. It looks inconsistent with the style. So I would say stick to fairy tale teeth. Look how they draw the teeth there for the females and so on. Stick to the style. Don't try to render everything berserk level, especially if your character designs don't come near as to how the character designs in Berserk are. You know, the proportions in Berserk compared to what this manga looks like are not the same. It's not the same. So you can't achieve the same type of rendering. You just have to be clever as to like how I'm gonna render it. And last thing, I've said 1,000,000,000 times, please stop using this brush, this gauze tool brush. People gotta stop using it because I haven't seen anybody, except myself, I suppose, who uses it correctly. It's overly used. Seriously, it's overly used. I know it's to create tension, but it's time to explore how to create tension without this brush tool. Okay? It's too much. It's literally in every single chapter. It's too much now. It's way too much. So, yeah. That's it for now. Ultimately, good job. There is an improvement. So I will definitely give this chapter a rating of 7.5. That's pretty good. I see the improvements, so that's real nice. That's real nice. I would recommend that if you do get to C rank within the year, I would do a remaster, honestly, because now that there's an understanding of who you're selling to, of course, people there want to compare your stuff to Berserk itself or other things that are of a higher rank than D rank. So I would not really rush. Rush to finish, sure, but I wouldn't rush to actually be on the shelf in the Middle East just yet. I recommend you do a remaster once you get to C rank, right? Especially when you have these videos where I told you everything that you can fix. So ultimately, that's it for now. Well done on the improvements. Please stop using the gauze brush tool. It's too much. Please change the teeth. Next time, use references for your animals and creature design. And remember to make sure that you put shadows according to where the light is coming from. And look at other movies for, crazy transformation scenes and so on. If y'all want your own review, it's $40 per chapter, and a chapter is 15 to 25 pages. Until next time.